All right, we now want to bring in our Washington correspondent with the Gray News Network, Josh Rothenberg. Hey, Josh, how's it going? Aloha, thanks for being with us. Let's get right to it as we await President Trump's rally. Wanted to talk about both President Trump and President Biden, both really leaders of their parties. What roles have they really played in this midterms? Really different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Jonathan. Thanks for having me. Let's start with the current president, Joe Biden. He plays a significant role in this midterms. Midterms are often seen as a referendum on the sitting president, and it appears that the 2022 version is no different, which could be bad news for Democrats because right now President Biden's approval rating is in the low 40s, which of course means that the majority of people disapprove of the job that he's doing. A number of Republicans have been attacking him on the high inflation and where the economy is right now, where crime is, what's going on at the southern border. There's been a number of candidates that are running on the Democratic side that have tried to distance themselves from the current president. We'll see how that works out for the Democratic candidates tomorrow night and in the subsequent days. As for the former president, Donald Trump, who of course we're waiting on his announcement, if it indeed does come tonight, that he is running again for the 2024 nomination, there are a number of candidates, Republican candidates, that are on the ballot across the country that are quote unquote election deniers, that have embraced the quote unquote big lie that the 2020 presidential election was stolen and were rigged. Of course, there's no evidence to suggest that's true, but that has not stopped these candidates from embracing that. So yes, both the current president and the former president playing huge roles here in the midterms.
All right, Josh, something everyone's watching, that balance of power at stake. So what are the polls saying, the most recent polls, about who's going to win tomorrow?
Yeah, if you take a look at the average of these polls, a lot of pollsters are saying that it's a foregone conclusion that the Republicans will take the House. They only need to net 5 seats in order to gain back control of the House of Representatives. Redistricting playing a huge role in that. Republicans are favored minimally to have a net gain of 7 seats. Some are saying it could be somewhere in the 20s or even 30s. As for the Senate, that is more of a toss-up. You could see that come down to a handful of states: Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, maybe even New Hampshire. A number of those races are toss-ups. You see a number of those states with Republican candidates that are backed by the former president, again, embracing that big lie. It remains to be seen how the independent voters, how the suburban voters are ultimately going to weigh in there, but the Senate is seen as more of a toss-up.
All right, Josh, let's talk about the issues. GOP really focused in on the economy and inflation. Democrats took up issues like abortion and zeroed in on that. So how did these issues really play into what the voters are choosing?
Yeah, these are huge issues. I mean, first and foremost, James Carville said it 30 years ago. It's the economy, stupid. And again, it is the economy that is the top issue here in the midterm elections. A number of people are just focused on how much money they're spending at the grocery store, how much money they're spending for a gallon of gas. And people that are either plugged in or not plugged in politically, they blame that on the Biden administration and the Democrats who are running things here currently in Washington, either fairly or unfairly. The Democrats have been campaigning very hard on the issue of abortion, especially after this summer's decision in the Dobbs case at the U.S. Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade. You had Senator Lindsey Graham, who threw out potentially a national abortion ban, and the Democrats are really trying to hone in on the fact that if Republicans take back control here in Washington, that something like that could be on the table. So they're trying to get their voters out that way. Republicans really focused on the economy, inflation, crime, the southern border. Again, the economy, the number one issue right now that could play into Republicans' hands tomorrow.
And Josh, I'm seeing you there in our nation's capital. Nights settled in. You're right in front of the dome. I've always sort of wondered this because I've never been in Washington, D.C. for an election night or an election eve. What is the vibe there in the nation's heart, in the nation's capital? What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, here everybody is some way or another focused on the political scene, right? I mean, this is the political center of the universe, so to speak. Certainly here in the United States, a number of people clearly focused on their TVs tonight to seeing what's going to happen. You have House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on television right now. She's talking about the attack that happened of course, on her husband, Paul Pelosi, just last week. You have a number of Republican supporters who are waiting to see what Donald Trump is going to see here later tonight. But as of right now, you take a look around, things are a little bit quiet, but of course that's not going to be the case tomorrow. And then, over the next 5 or 6 weeks, once the election is behind us, this lame duck period is going to be crazy because there's going to be a number of things that Democrats are going to try and get through before the new year starts.
All right, Josh, appreciate your coverage there. Coming to